What if the highest praise a woman can get is actually a trap? In this explainer, we're diving into a really radical idea that for women, self-sacrifice isn't some noble virtue. It's actually a slow drain on their power. We're going to completely reframe how we think about female vitality.
Okay, let's really look at this. She was a good mother and wife. She never put herself first, ever. This was a real caption at the funeral of a 52-year-old woman. And for generations, this is what we've been told is the ideal, right? But what if it's not? What if that praise is the trap? And what if that so-called ideal is quietly draining women of their actual life force?
So, we're going to explore the source material that just blows this whole idea wide open. We'll trace it all the way from a cultural problem to a pretty surprising biological truth. Then, we'll get into the science that actually backs it all up. And finally, we'll look at a really practical way to put this into action. So first things first, let's talk about the trap itself.
All right, Section 1, the self-sacrifice trap. So how does this cultural ideal actually play out in real life? Well, the source material argues it creates something called the mother-daughter chain of pain. It's this legacy of, depletion that just gets passed down from one generation to the next.
And this is really brought to life by the story of that same 52-year-old woman from the funeral. A reporter who was actually there said that during a slideshow of her life, you could literally watch her life force just fade. In photos, year after year, you could see her dimming, receding further and further into the background of her own life. And this, right here, gets to the absolute core of the conflict. Most women would rather die than be called selfish. Think about that. This isn't just a habit, it's a deep, deep fear. The terror of being labeled selfish is so powerful that for so many women, it's a choice between that label and their own health, their vitality, sometimes even their will to live. Okay, so this is where everything pivots. We've just heard the cultural story, right? The story of self-sacrifice and depletion. But what if that's not the story our bodies were actually designed to live? What if our biology tells a completely different story? Let's take a look at the script we were all born with. Section 2, the wisdom of the egg. So yeah, this completely different story is rooted in our biology. And it all starts with this incredible metaphor that just flips the whole script on what it really means to give. It's really simple when you think about it through this breastfeeding metaphor. You have nothing of quality to give unless you are well-nourished, rested, and hydrated first. I mean, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? We get this biologically with breastfeeding. A mother has to be sustained to produce milk. So why on earth do we expect women to emotionally and energetically sustain everyone around them from a state of total exhaustion?
And this comparison just illustrates the whole biological argument perfectly. I mean, look at the difference here. On one hand, you've got sperm. Millions of them produced daily, they're cheap, they're competitive swimmers, but then you have the egg. It's this one precious egg per month. It's incredibly selective. It actually chooses its partner. And get this, it can even repair faulty DNA from the sperm. It's a whole different ballgame.
So, the big takeaway from all this, your job is to act like an egg. And what that really means is to understand your own value, to be selective with your energy, to realize that your power doesn't come from frantically doing more and more, but from your own inherent worth. Okay, Section 3, the science of pleasure. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this whole egg idea isn't just some cool biological metaphor. There is a hard scientific case for why pleasure is an absolute cornerstone of health and vitality. And the key player here is a molecule called nitric oxide. The source material actually calls it the molecule of life force, like the physical version of qi. Basically, it's a gas that your blood vessels produce during moments of pleasure or even exercise, and its main job is to relax those vessels, which boosts blood flow and circulation through your entire body. So here's the direct pathway. It's like a chain reaction. Step 1, you practice pleasure. That increases your nitric oxide. In turn, that helps balance out these really important neurotransmitters like dopamine for motivation and oxytocin for connection. And the result? You get real, tangible health benefits. And this, magnetic, vibrant energy.
And that's why this stuff is actually visible. That increased nitric oxide improves your circulation, giving you that healthy glow, that vibrant look that people can't help but notice. It's kind of funny. The source points out that when someone is suddenly just full of life, one of the first questions people ask is, "Are you having an affair?" It's that visible sign of a body that's just humming with life force.
And this reveals a really fundamental truth. As the quote says, a man gets turned on by a turned-on woman. Why? Because she is the source of Shakti, of life force. Her energy is generative. Her own vitality is what creates her magnetism. She is the source, and she sets the energetic tone for herself and honestly for everyone around her.
All right, section 4, putting pleasure into practice. I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do we translate this into real action? Well, let's look at a super concrete practical exercise from the source material designed to do just that.
It's called the visiting dignitary exercise, and the goal here is really important to understand. This is not about relieving tension. It's not about letting off steam. No, this is a dedicated practice to actively increase your body's capacity to feel pleasure and to build that inner life force, that Shakti.
So here's how it works. First, you create a sanctuary in your bedroom. Candles, music, whatever feels good to you. Then, you treat yourself like a visiting dignitary, with that same level of care and reverence. And from there, you just explore. You see how turned on you can become, all on your own. Remember, the goal here isn't just to get off. It's to raise your magnetism. It's all about rewiring your body to experience way more pleasure.
And the end result of all this, the more you practice, the more you become this magnetic person. And I'm talking about the kind of person that animals and children and even new opportunities are just naturally drawn toward. This practice of cultivating what the world might call selfish pleasure is actually the foundation for a way more powerful and attractive life.
And that really leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with. It's a big question. What if pleasure is not an indulgence? What if it's not some frivolous, guilty luxury, but instead it's your greatest power? Maybe even your most underutilized source of power.